Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of HeroClix. You might be wondering, hey, why are you doing the show so soon, Dark Logos? The main reason is that I gave my sort of explanation, my brief rundown of what I would say if I was able to say what I wanted to say on Glass Cabinet Films' previous roundtable. And then sort of listening to it myself again, I sort of realized that I've left a whole lot of things just open-ended. But again, it was intended as like, hey, this is where I'm at, and finishing a statement or a thought pattern a little bit longer than time that I would have been given to sort of just say what I wanted to say. So what I want to do is flesh it out, and I really want to flesh out the thought patterns for you so you can start to see why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay, so let's get started. Currently in the meta, what we are dealing with is two, maybe three major shift dynamics that we now have to deal with that are permanently in the game from this point on. The first major shift dynamic is our thinking about primes. It was mentioned before in the rules change earlier this year, but it's now like, oh, now we have to deal with it. The second is vehicles. Okay, that's the new element that we have to deal with. All right. So now, when we look at primes as they stand right now, primes are really okay. The best prime, I think, is the Cape Crusader, in my opinion, and really Bruce Wayne is a very close second. And when I mean close second, I mean he's pulling on the cowl and trying to shiv Batman. Okay. And if you don't know, that's actually Hush. So, anyway, those two primes by far are the most definitive primes that will make people like second guess things. That make people say, "Oh, okay, I really can commit to playing this figure." Okay, the rest of the primes are, oh gosh, I hate to say it. They're really not worth your investment. And the main reason they're not worth your investment is that to abuse them as best as you could, you really you're really having to build around a gimmick, and that most of them, for them to be your point person, doesn't work. For example, Selena Kyle is probably the best wielder of the Cosmic Cube, but for how much you pay for the Cosmic Cube, you're better off playing Catwoman from DC 10th that can negate relics and put the Batman utility belt on her. You're better off doing that. Now, I can understand if you want to run a Gotham Underworld team and you want to use her, or Gotham City Sirens, you want to use her, then yes, then she has some value. But stat-wise, she's not that strong. When you look at just her ability to procure artifacts, it's not that strong. When you look at what you're forfeiting, okay? Now, if there was a way of someone saying like, hey, you have to play Gauntlet or Vehicle, then I would be like, oh wow, we might have a power split, because then you can get a relic in there and then she would be good. But that's not the case. When we look, who is it? Sasha Bordeaux's Black Queen, really it's not that much goodness. 7 clicks at 135 points, not dealing 4 damage, a base 4 damage on any part of her clicks. Yes, the Indomitable's nice. Yes, the Calculator's nice. Yes, I can ignore hindering terrain is nice. But really, when it's all said and done, she's a little shallow for how much you're paying in the meta right now, and she doesn't bring enough to the team. Now, if you're just going to be like, checkmate, ho, robot, ho, yeah, you can have some fun with her then. Spy's probably better off without her, in all honesty. I don't think there's too many that Spy would be like, oh yes, we must have her. So once you really look at it, Bruce Wayne and Caped Crusader are really your two best primes. Now, what does that mean for the meta with Caped Crusader and Bruce Wayne being the two best primes? Well, you can see on eBay that Caped Crusader goes for just about the same amount or more than some of the chases. Like, you can get the Insider for under $50, but you can't get Caped Crusader for under $50. What does that tell you? When you have super rares going for less than 20. Yeah, that's a big deal. The other thing is Bruce Wayne, he can be an awesome medic, and I'm not going to front, he is an awesome medic that can just come back and start laying the pain down. But in all honesty, the times that you really are going to be laying the pain down, you're not going to be healing. And so, yeah, he can come back at the end of the game and sort of be like guns a-blazing, all that jazz. But in all honesty, when you really look at him on what he's going to be doing, he's going to be sitting back on huge games and just healing. But when we start looking at his point value, we look at our huge games, guess what? We start looking at unrestricted. We're starting to look at the Atom from Blackest Night. We're starting to look at, even in modern age right now, Donald Blake teamed up with, let's see, Donald Blake teamed up with a Harvey Dent, does exactly the same thing for less, and you get two figures. And you might say, how does it do exactly the same thing? You get a willpower medic, except you have an 11 attack, because again, Harvey Dent gives you willpower, and I'm talking about the one from Dark Knight Rises. You can AE, if you need to, your Donald Blake into Thor. So that's just something to consider, just overall, if you want to do that. But sort of going back is, the main advantage is that he can sort of see through stealth, and that he has that he can use outwit and support, which can be useful. It really can be useful. So with that prime reality, and then when we look at Caped Crusader, if I had to pick between Caped Crusader or Selina Kyle, I'd definitely pick Caped Crusader. But if Caped Crusader and Bruce Wayne, it's sort of, it's up in the air, depending on what my team can do with the Caped Crusader and what type of flock of bats I have. Because by getting those flock of bats out there and adjacent to or away from or to wherever square I need to be, I can, poof flock of bats and be next to Alfred, or, poof flock of bats charge you, and hit you with exploit, and I could have perplexed up my attack or damage or whatever I need ahead of time. So Caped Crusader can come in and do a lot of damage and do a lot of silliness, but I don't think that he's going to be the one Batman that's going to rule them all yet. And the main reason I say yet is the risk of flock of bats, if not played properly, and what I mean play properly is this: with flock of bats, you have to be with Batman, have Batman drop flock of bats, move the flock of bats, because I think you can drop the flock of bats for free. Okay. Then once the flock of bats are in whatever position that you want them to be, then you have him, switch points, and then you can charge or running shot or whatever else you need to do. Okay, which has its advantages for mobility. or it has its advantages for running away. Whatever you want to say, it has its advantages. Mainly the point is that you can manipulate the battlefield and pretty much space manipulation. Remember we talked about space manipulation of why Nightcrawler is a threat, okay, in older videos. And go and listen to the training regiment on TK. Oops, sorry, I haven't done that one yet. Things I need to do. Okay, so don't worry, I'll be doing that eventually. But pretty much you can see that's why the Caped Crusader is going for $50 on eBay right now, in week 1 after these came out. Now, a month from now, 2 months from now, Spider-Man set, yeah, his cost is definitely going to go down. So I would say for all those people that are thinking like, oh shoot, you know, I need to go buy them now, in all honesty, you can wait. The one figure I will say that you probably want to buy ASAP that's probably not going to be on the market, at least for a low amount of dollaroo, is the Batman Green Lantern. Yeah, or Green Lantern Batman, whatever you want to say about that. I don't think he's going to be on the market long, just for the pure fact that the other chases are crapola, with a capital C emphasis Ola. Okay, so just sort of roll that around in your mind. As amusing as it might sound, you might want to drop that $30 to $50 on him, depending on how you're feeling your budget. But what have we said here on the Starting Over podcast? Don't bust your wallet open. Be reasonable. Be practical. Now, let's start getting into the crux of my meta argument, and we can sort of talk about economics if that fits in time-wise. The crux of my meta argument is this. If we look at the meta for the past 2 years, and if we really sort of go back, and I'm going to be nice, I'm going to say what should be in the meta but isn't. Let's look at Web of Spider-Man. Web of Spider-Man should be in the meta but is not in the meta. Why is that? Anybody ask? You know, those people that are concerned. It's like, what happened? You know, why did Web of Spider-Man really get removed? It shouldn't have gotten removed. Well, it got removed because of Nightcrawler. So, but it should still have been in the meta. But if we look back at Web of Spider-Man, when that set came out, what was the big deal? Bullseye, you know, Nightcrawler, shenanigans. I need to Thunderbolts because I don't have hardly any Superman TA or Ultimates running around. Okay, so we see that problem. What's the other problem that we see? You know, oh, there's not a lot of damage reduction. Everybody has toughness and energy shield, and energy shield seems to be the awesome power until someone comes up and smacks you really good. So we had primarily a ranged game going on. Introduce Nightcrawler, introduce Bullseye. While Bullseye is the antithesis of Nightcrawler, Nightcrawler preys upon all the major disadvantages of modern HeroClix. They're range driven. Most of the time they don't have a lot of range stealth options. And the main way to kill Nightcrawler is having a figure that has running shot, pulse wave, or charge and battle fury. And even then, that wouldn't get you past the super senses. So, in a high attack because his defense was ridiculously too high. So we have all that wrapped together in this crazy nougat goodness. And so what was in the meta, really? The meta changed, and with Nightcrawler it forced us to either pack anti-stealth outwit, anti-stealth attacker that could also ignore shape change or super senses, a attacker that could ignore any sort of follow-up attack, or figures that are able to break away freely or get away freely. We saw those elements come up. So it was still ranged games versus other ranged games. The meta didn't shift. You can say, oh, Nightcrawler Bullseye, Nightcrawler Metron thing. No, it's really the same game. It's, oh, look, watch my range guy blast you for 100 points, and yeah, you're dead, and your team's dead, and I get the shiny new LE. That was the meta. There was no melee meta. There was no really big shenanigans of how I can make you dance or make your figures go off the board, or I can move you over this place or that place. Really, it was just one meta, which was how much can I shoot you? So you have this silliness that people called, ooh, look, the meta. This is why I'm challenged. And I mean, yeah, you had the rise of Novar for a reason. Novar is an anti Novar is a anti-Nightcrawler figure. I mean, but you also saw him be quite effective on a whole lot of other things. But if you look at the meta back then, what is our main concern? Our main concern is delivering around 3 damage that we're hoping to hype up to about 4 or 5 damage. Okay? So that is to an extent of how hard we're looking at figures being hit. Yes, there's all sorts of other figures that are going to come out that haven't magically come out. Okay? But that's what we're thinking of. Fast forward a bit. We're looking at GSX, we're looking at Green Lantern, we're looking at Captain America, we're looking at Superman. What happens? Oh my gosh, damage reductions. Weird shenanigans. There's scientists that can make me a werewolf. There's a Superman that can hypersonic speed, outwit, see-through stealth, and hit me for a bazillion damage. There's a Captain America that's frozen in an ice cube, and when he comes out, he's a bad man. You darn Skippy. Okay, so there's these elements that come in, and what do we see? We see an increase in damage. We see an increase in damage reduction, and we see less sort of this, hey buddy, I got combat reflexes and energy shield deflection, and that's going to get me by, buddy. There's less of that. Okay? There's like, oh shoot, I got energy shield and I better have super senses or shape change, because if not, I'm going to die. Okay? Or I better have, if I have damage reduction, if I have shape change or super senses, I am pretty much on the top of the food chain when it comes to survivability. Really look at your top meta pieces. They have damage reduction. They have high damage output. You are paying 135 to 150, well, 135 to 200 for most of them. Okay? And yes, there are some rare exceptions. And no, I do not count 300-point Superman as an exception. 300-point Superman is just not that good. Anyway, what's sad is one 300-point Superman is less than 2 150-point Supermans. Just sort of look at it. It's just really, which would you rather have, a 300-point Superman or 2 150-point Supermans? But going on to the analysis. So what do we see introduced? We see big damage for affordable prices. It's like Walmart came into HeroClix and said, hey buddy, we're opening up a store to get rid of that mom and pop 3 and 4 damage you're used to. What we're going to do is we're going to hyper inject all our produce full of stat modifications, steroids, so that you have potatoes larger than your head. Please enjoy. So we see the upside of our power creep. Really, and people might not say it, but the upside of the power creep really started in DC 75th and GSX. There was just a minor lull for Captain America. Then it just was like, yeah, welcome back to the party with Superman set. Really, with the Superman set, they were like, hey, kids, do you really want to perform well? Welcome to the land of performance-enhancing drugs. And the Superman set was born. Okay? Now, what do we not have? Okay, we don't have resource dials yet. We don't really have any like, oh my gosh, that one power that does that one thing, and you see, and it's combined into this, and then it's like, it's just crazy. My head exploded, man, into a Technicolor rainbow candy deliciousness. No, you don't see any of that. You just see Hulk smash puny human. Okay, and in multiple forms or other. Either it's, here I come to save the day, to, sitting back and doing a drive-by on somebody. So, meta's simple. it just opened up to hypersonic speed, super strength, and range gain. Very simple meta. Okay, Hulk happens. We see this one blip on the radar before it gets really crazy, which is Gamma Bomb, and then Black Bolt. 2 blips on the radar, and then ask yourself, when's the last time I really thought about the Gamma Bomb, and when's the last time I really thought about Black Bolt? You haven't. Okay. Then we introduced the Infinity Gauntlet. Now the Infinity Gauntlet now says, hey kids, do you see that pumped up steroided figure over there? Now imagine, just imagine if we hit it with radiation and it mutated into your, own personal potato friend that walks around the house, does your chores, and brings you fruity drinks. Don't you love that? That's pretty much what the Infinity Gauntlet is. It pretty much is that fairy to Pinocchio making, dead, lifeless figures real boys. Okay? And so now we have another meta dynamic, because we have Infinity Gauntlet making crappy figures okay figures better figures great, and great figures demigods. And demigod figures, pure omnipotent deities of unstoppableness. Galactus and Zeron, I'm looking at you. Okay, so we have the Infinity Gauntlet. Now we have this new meta that comes up is, oh snap, I have a range game, I have a high damage output game. Now all of a sudden I have this spin the dial game, and turns matter. I can't play this long drawn out game of hero clicks of the past, of cat and mouse, of I must gradually position here because he can running shot and shoot me, but I'm 1 away, but then in 3 turns I can counterattack. Your opponent's like, yeah, whatever, in 3 turns I'm going to be able to name a power, use all these gems, and then going to name whatever combo that I want, and it's going to, smack you in the face. And oh yeah, I get +2 stats. So the time requirement on the game changed. So we have a thought process change. So we have an evolution of the metagame. So now it's like resource dial, range game, and then we have this, hypersonic speed damage reduction game. Okay. So move forward, Galactic Guardians, not so much changes. Avengers Initiative, oh snap, Marvel has something other than Ultimates that's going to deal with stealth. And then we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, cheap stealth busting, give me that Hawkeye, yeah, give me that Iron Man, yeah, we can do it, and you can see, look back at how you felt during Avengers movie, and yeah, I will say, like, it's like my money is going away, it just feels like it's magically taken. Yeah, but then also think about those games that like no one played stealth in for a month and a half because they knew everyone was playing Avengers Initiative. What did that change for the game? Like, but my Doctor Doom, he was stealth, and then he died. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. That's what happened. So, when we see Avengers Initiative, what changed? Oh, more common proliferation of anti-stealth. So stealth got stomped in the head. Really, really good. Okay? Then we fast forward, we see, the War of Light set and the GSX Fast Forces. Then comes Dark Knight. And you would think, hey, we just had a set that just, kicked dirt in the face of stealth. How is stealth good? Then we get Marquee Batman, we get Lucius Fox, we get that Alfred, we get Lieutenant Gordon. And then you start seeing gimmicks where it's like, we use stealth, but we're not stealth dependent. We have other things that we do. And then it's like, oh snap, gimmicks. enter Lieutenant Gordon. Lieutenant Gordon, please come to the stage while we give you this award of the most amount of shenanigans that's been created in the game, probably since Con Artist. And you know, long-term listeners are going to say, yeah, you've been saying that for a while. New people, if you look at anything, pretty much anything from episode 25 till now will be very relevant to your modern HeroClix playing. You will have probably almost 20 hours of entertainment. But you will definitely hear me cry, lament, scream, praise Lieutenant Gordon. Okay, definitely when you start combining him with a specific Green Lantern from the Green Lantern set. Yeah, when Hal can phase up, use Range Combat Expert in the same turn, it's beautiful. But anyway, I digress. We now see shenanigans. Another capitalization of the shenanigans is the Catwoman that's able to exchange objects for other objects on the field. So you see Catwoman Scorpio combo being ridiculously good when you just have simply a standard light object sitting in front of your starting area. Your opponent places the Scorpio key. If you go first, oh, I use Catwoman to swap the Scorpio key for this light object right in front of me. Oh, how can you do that? Well, I just bring it to me. It's that simple. Now my Scorpio, which is ridiculously cheap and sort of okay, is now powered up more so than, you know, any sort of card in Yu-Gi-Oh's deck in his show. You know, I play Dark Magic Magician with Spellbinding, with Super Hat and Rod of Ages and Time. There we go. And then his attack value is ridiculous. You know, what is his power level, Vegeta? You know, I don't even need to go any further. You already know how it is. So we see in Dark Knight Rises more shenanigans. Like, oh my gosh, these guys aren't just stealth. They do stuff. They do crazy stuff that we hadn't seen before. So what do we all have then? We have crazy stuff we've never seen before. Infinity Gauntlet, oh my gosh, I have a timer on the game. Then you have, oh man, a ton of defensive powers and hypersonic speed in this range game. Okay, so we have 4 bubbles sort of thrown in the air. We're juggling 4 bowling pins. And it seems quite easy. It seems really easy. It's like, okay, I can sort of see this. There's so many shenanigans I can sort of deal with. Fast forward. Chaos War didn't really give us shenanigans. It gave us just more damage, a little bit of support. What really gave us shenanigans was the Chaos War Fast Forces and the Justice League. Well, in the Justice League set. Because Madame Xandu, John Constantine, and Scarlet Witch are pure shenanigans. Scarlet Witch because she should never be that cheap for 50 points. Okay? But John Constantine is like, no, you can't use Prob. And Madame Xandu says, hey, Master Mode, baby, come over here, let me give you a kiss. And you see that guy over there who has a 20 defense? Yeah, target him and target that guy over there that has a 15. Okay, and I'm going to do my voodoo that I do so well on you. And when you miss that 20, don't feel bad. When you multi-attack, you're going to hit that 15. And then when you go the second time around and get lucky and hit that high defense again, don't worry about it. You won't be taking an action token because you did miss this turn when you attacked. Yeah. Madame Xandu. More shenanigans. I will not lie, whenever I do play Master Mode, she's like one of the first figures I think about. Like, how many people can I piss off at my venue this time? Yes, you know. So, again, shenanigans introduced. If you look at Justice League set, you don't think of the Justice League set of, oh, Firestorm, Hawkman, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. You don't think of that. You think of all the shenanigans. Okay? Enter 10th anniversary. 10th anniversary goes back to was our older paradigm. That high defense, that high damage, that potato on steroids. It says, guess what? We have a processed food starch substitute that will go into your bloodstream and run your body for the next 5 days. You don't need to sleep. Kick that old stuff out of here. You paid $135 for 11 attack and 3 damage, 3 targets? You a sucker, fool. Let's introduce 11 attack, 4 damage, similar defenses, and 8 range, plus I see through stealth. And by the way, hello, my name is Thor, God of Thunder, and I'm bringing the pain. Okay? So, when we see that, and we see several other figures, like that Superman, the rare Superman, when we see the silliness that is Dark Phoenix, for 100 points, we're really, for most of those figures, we're not busting 135. And you can say, like, well, what about Lex Luthor? He's freaking awesome. He is awesome. But when you think about the damage that you're about to deal, do you think of Lex Luthor? Unless you're like, okay, I got the points, let me just, trick him out. You're not thinking Lex Luthor. I will be honest. When I look at DC 10th, the first figure that I think of that's really cheap, that's really broken awesome, is Green Lantern. Alan Scott Green Lantern. When you have an 11 attack and 18 defense, running shot, and range combat expert to deal 5... yeah, that's pretty strong. And I haven't broken 100 points. That's really strong and really sort of not balanced. Okay? So anyway, DC 10th anniversary as a whole gave us a whole lot of cheap damage. And some damage reducers and some mild shenanigans. We didn't really get shenanigans out of DC 10. All we got was Hulk Smash Puny Human. Really, it's more than Hulk Smash Puny Human. It's Hulk Smash Puny Human puts Puny Human remains into a blender, drink what's left, and then crack greatness. That's pretty much what 10th anniversary gave us. So now we enter into Batman, and you have to ask yourself, hey, we're balancing. What's our balancing act looking like again? Okay, we have shenanigans. Okay, that's pin number 1. We have that range game. That's pin number 2. Okay, we have that, oh my gosh, this is cheap, super ridiculous damage. Oh man, I didn't think I can get it that cheap. Okay, and then we have defense. I have invulnerability, super senses, and energy shield deflection. Yay. Okay, so we have those 4 pins. Now introducing your 5th and 6th pin, and this is when the pins start to drop. Okay, this is when the pins start to drop. Actually, I can go up to 7. I'm going to throw you primes. I'm going to throw you vehicles. And I'm going to throw you capture ability. Now you might say, well, capture ability has always been around. But capture ability has always been around, but you just never had the incentive to use it because it's ridiculously expensive. It's 100 points of playing football, turning hero clicks into football clicks. Oh, he captured the ball. He captured the Flash. Okay, Sentinel captured the Flash. He's moving down. He's moving down. Oh, here comes Superman. Superman's up on the Sentinel. He's going. He's at the 10-yard line. Oh, Sentinel might make it. He might make it. He's at the starting area. Superman's coming in. He gets that hit. Will he make it? Will he make it, folks? Oh, he made it. Oh, fumble. Sentinel fumbles in the starting area. That I know that's a little bit more exciting than what goes on, but hasn't that been in your head for you experienced players that play capture? It's like, yeah, okay, you paid 100 points, you've rushed that Sentinel or whatever other figure, I think it was like Captain Marvel, back from wherever they are to your starting area, and then you have to unload them. your capture, that is. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. But now you can get capture for a very low price. And you might say, what's that low price, Dark Logos? Well, for you, behind curtain number 5 is an Arkham City Guard. For 45 points, you get a 9 attack, 3 clicks of the capture ability on a 5-click dial figure, which means that your standard figure, while they're able to probably knock them off, that Arkham Asylum Guard, off of his ability to capture, they can't really kill him unless they get help. And that means on that 25-point offer that that Arkham City Guard paid for, going to meet him really, really soon. Okay? So, introduce capture. So, it's very minor, but you're thinking to yourself, oh, snap, I got 5 pins. This is getting really tough. Then I throw to you primes. Ridiculously good figures depending on how you build them. Okay, I got that 6 going, and I throw you the 7th, and bam, enter vehicles. Figures that can block line of fire, very low defense, so they can be hit, but they have long clicks of life, have abilities that do alter the state of the game, and alter the state of target selection, which is a very strong paramount value in the game of HeroClix. Think about it. If someone took away your ability to target another figure or influence how you target another figure, that has to be a very powerful power, right? Yeah. Barrier, League of Assassins ATA, Batman TA, Human Targets ability, Shape Change. All these different things that are shenanigans that well, I wouldn't say barrier isn't shenanigans, but all these different things that say, hey, you can't target that person, or I'm going to make you think twice about targeting that person. So vehicles come in, and now they have multiple layers of protection, because not only can they block line of fire, but you can put a character in it as the pilot, and then once you put that character in it as the pilot, now you can no longer target that one figure that you want to kill that is now the pilot of that vehicle. So now you have to say it's the complete inverse of the classic Tootsie Roll Pop commercial. The kid walks up to Mr. Owl and he says, how many licks does it take to get to a center of the Tootsie Roll Pop? Imagine if the commercial went like this. Mr. Owl walks up to the kid and says, how many licks does it take for you to lick the inside of the Tootsie Roll Pop to get to the outside candy center? And the kid looks at Mr. Owl and says, you need to stop eating rabies-infected rats when you hunt, Mr. Owl. But that's what we're doing. That gooey center of Tootsie Roll goodness, if you like that. I like blow pops. No double entendre, the actual candy people. If you look at it, that figure that you want to KO is hidden in this candy shell. And you were about to kill him, then he just pops into his ghetto cruiser and runs off. So now you have to factor that in. Now the question comes in, can you juggle all 7? And in a 1,000-point game, everyone can juggle all 7. But in 300 points, I'm doubting no. I'm really doubting if you can. And so now you have to decide how many pins can you juggle, and is it worth it juggling those pins? So now we see a complete change, because now if you choose to juggle vehicles, high damage, shenanigans, and someone juggles capture, vehicles, and high defense, what are you going to do? What if someone just says, I can easily spin 1 pin in the air, and that 1 pin in the air is shenanigans, or I can spin that 1 pin in the air and it's called resource dials, or I can spin this 1 pin in the air and it's called, hey, I got high defense, high damage. What then? So we're sort of stuck. So ask yourself, can you juggle that much in your head? Now, again, are there easy ways to refine all this down? Yes. The average player is not going to combine 50, different elements to create a team. But we do know some things. Okay, like even from dealing with the rules forums right now. Vehicles can pick up relics. Vehicles can be assigned resource dials. Okay, so we know that we have the utility belt and the Infinity Gauntlet out now, but we also know down the line that the Batcave can be assigned, and it's a resource dial. So imagine the Batmobile with the Batcave, and Alfred's there to repair it. So those things are there as well for us to think about and consider. The other thing that I want us to sort of see, not necessarily that we're in a paper, rock, scissors game, but we're in sort of this 5-way, or even you could say 7-way, this beats this can hurt this is sort of weakened by that, this beats this, the first thing. So what we're seeing is capture can hurt tempo, but it can't deal with the silliness of tag team of Supergirl and Dark Phoenix, for example. It just can't. Alright. You won't be able to. You can try as you like to protect your capture piece, even with Gordon, but they're not going to make it back downfield fast enough. With whatever support that you can have, either if they capture Supergirl or Dark Phoenix, one of those two are going to power downfield and just wreak havoc all over the place and wreak havoc as they wreak. The other thing that we have to look at is, like, okay, these high defensive nature elements, while they are really good against, other figures that some of the vehicles and good against, how can I put it, some of the prime figures, because you can really sort of see there's only not Bruce Wayne, the Cape Crusader does have a high attack, but he doesn't have anything to get past super senses or shape change really effectively. Okay, he can flip-flop positions, but he doesn't have the cool traits of the Batman Azur-Ahnar. He has better stats than Batman Azur-Ahnar. Batman Azur-Ahnar, if he had the abilities of the Cape Crusader, he'd probably be a little bit better, but I digress. But when we look at it, while that Batman is strong, what does he need? He needs lots of perplex, and he could use a TK. Okay, so we can see that while that Batman can be a front man and he can use the gauntlet, well, or even the Batman utility belt, and benefits from that, but he needs at least 2 other perplexes on the team and a prob to make sure that he doesn't whiff, and make sure that those probs and those perplexes can get in range. So you're looking at a reality that if he sends some bats out and he has 1 token, you really want him to be beginning the turn to be next to Harvey Dent. So that way you have your prob, you can get your willpower, and you can put in some perplexes. You can have that one Bruce Wayne that can move people into positions, and boom, there you go. So there's some things to be considered with him, but at the same time, when you start adding in Catwoman that negates the gauntlet or the utility belt, and she's teamed up with a police car and Supergirl, or a police car and Ultimate Thor, Avengers Initiative Thor. What do? Now that team is at a really big disadvantage, because now you have a high attack, easy damage, gauntlet negation, and you have no place to hide. They can hide behind the cop car. You have to come up there and fight. You're depending on stealth as a survival mechanic. They can get past stealth as a survival mechanic. That you're depending on the gauntlet as a offensive mechanic and a survival mechanic. Now they have something that's going to negate your gauntlet. So the thing that I really want to get to you is you can try to fit all 7 elements in, but in doing so you're going to completely dilute their effectiveness. If you pick 4 of the 7, you're sort of okay. You really need to buckle in on 3. If you buckle in on 3, you're going to have 4 other elements that are going to come and give you problems. And that is just where we're at. And I'm going to say this, and some people are going to be like, wow, we were doing good. But we haven't even considered Colossals yet. And we really haven't talked about those like combined, Teen Titan, a whole bunch of figures on one dial things yet as well. So those things are coming down the meta. Let alone, promotions, which was a little bit half-butt, and then really, in all honesty, webbing was a stupid mechanic that shouldn't have never been invented. It really should have never been invented. So you have all those things together, mechanic-wise, that's in the meta now. So what are we going to do as team builders? We're going to have to take time out and decide what is the most useful. And I'm going to tell you this. Capture, as it is now, with that Arkham Asylum guard, is going to be frustrating, because you're going to see too many people fall under the logic of, my big person must be wearing the gauntlet or the utility belt. My main attacker should be using it, not my secondary attacker, not my support. And what the Arkham City security guard is going to do with the cop car is that he's going to force people to say, this is my main attacker. I have a resource dial on my team. I have a choice of my second attacker or my support, but it's never going on my primary attacker. Do you see the mentality shift? Okay. Because of the risk. Because once you shut down my main attacker, my secondary attacker can only do so much. My secondary attacker can't carry everything. But if I have my secondary attacker just slightly below in effectiveness than my primary attacker, then we have a whole new ball game. Or I have my support who now has, power cosmic and willpower. What does that mean? Who does the capture person go for? Yeah, they can go for your tent pole, but they also have to know that there's 2 to 3 other figures there that can go and chase them down. Now, yeah, I can say like, oh, swarm teams, oh, this tactic, oh, barrier stall, blah, 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 blah. I mean, all those things are there. But when we really look at the meta thought as a whole for the last few years, it really has been like all the elements I said. Range, damage, defense, and okay damage values, cheap damage output, shenanigans, and resource dials, or you can include relics into that. And then we're just adding on vehicles, primes, and capture. So anyway, I hope that this gives you a little bit more clarity on what I'm saying, and I hope it makes you sort of realize that a lot of people are going to be like, oh, vehicles, they're lame, they don't do anything. And then you can run them over with cop cars and Arkham Asylum guards, and then I'm betting you they're going to go on eBay like really fast and to try to find some. I just bought an Invisible Jet for like $15. No one's really understands the true value of the vehicles right now. Yeah, the bug is going for a good amount of money, but the bug is a damage absorber. That's all it does, really. Just takes damage. It doesn't do much else. The cop car, I've just talked about them all day. the Batmobile and the Batwing. I know on the Glass Cabinet Films Roundtable, everybody booed the Batmobile. But the Batmobile is the only figure with RAM. And just go back to what I said about kidnapping with mind control. I mean, come on, man. That's already... It's pretty much just guaranteed damage every turn to that figure that's inside. So, take all that in. And then also just sort of look at if you're really sweating, like, man, Dark Logos, you bring up all these points. How am I going to afford all of this stuff? I feel that I need to buy all this stuff so that I feel that I always have the option, emphasis mine, to play high-level material so that I can compete. And what I would tell you is, if economics are a factor, pick one of those 7 pins that I listed and make that your primary play style. Then pick another one, make that your secondary, and pick another one and make that your third. Try to have some sort of synergy between the 3 pins, and then go from there. Don't even try to cover the rest of them. Don't try to dabble in them if that's not you. Know what is you. If you already know vehicles, not my thing. I don't like the idea of mobile blocking terrain. My thinking is too much based around me just going in and blasting stuff. Okay, then you need to invest in DC 10th Anniversary. If you're like, man, I just like making my opponents play Mother May I, then you need to go look at some of the shenanigan, pieces like Loki from Chaos War. Yeah, Loki from Chaos War. Hitman. It's not Hitman. The bodyguard. I forgot from Superman set. I forgot his name right now. You might want to also look at, Lieutenant Gordon, Prime shenanigans. Harvey Dent, more shenanigans. Everyone has willpower, passing it out like candy. You're next to me, I'm the life of the party. There's Madame Xandu and John Constantine. They're sort of a little bit harder to get. Definitely Constantine. But, if you want to save up for that, fine. Go find figures that fit your style. And in finding those figures that fit your style, then you can find what you are going to invest in. So anyway, just consider those things, and I want you all to sort of marinate on that. Put in comments below. Please subscribe, all that other good jazz if you haven't. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. And like I said, I really want to hear from you guys. Tell me if you think my analysis is dead on, or if I'm off, or if you feel that there's some glaring omission that I have in my analysis. I am not all-knowing, nor all-powerful. And if I was, be much afraid. Anyway, so thank you for listening. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.